I'm a Part 61 school owner telling you this. Find someone else out there that's going to be that honest with you and tell you to go somewhere else because you're going to save money. So today we're going to answer a question that I saw posted online because it's coming up again and I want to dispel some myths and put some information out there. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here and I'm going to read through this for you guys. Part 141 or Part 61? I've been accepted into a local 141 program that claims with a full-time commitment I can go from 0 to hero, 250 hours, 7 ratings, all the way up through in 12 months, which seems to be no different than any other Part 141 type program. It's not. But my God, the $105,000, more likely $110,000 to $120,000 price tag is atrocious. We'll see. Couple that with the 15% interest rate, yeah, that's high. These loans options are offering. It's really got me questioning some things. My question is, has anyone done a full-time style Part 61 to get all the ratings? Either way I decide to do it, full-time is the only way in which I will be pursuing flight school. Well, welcome to flight school. So I'm glad you made the decision that no matter what it is, you're moving forward. This is a wonderful industry to be a part of. So let's kind of dive in and let's answer some questions you had here. So can you do full-time accelerated program at a Part 61 school? Yes. Just go in there and tell them you want to be there 5 days a week, full-time training, whatever, and they're not going to tell you no. Unless they don't have the availability of instructors or airplanes, they're not going to tell you no. They're going to love that you're in there every day. But not only that, if you're in there every single day, you're going to be more proficient, you're going to move through your ratings faster, and you're going to do it cheaper because you're not going to be going back and redoing old lessons again to kind of get back up to where you are. You won't be taking that one step back before you get to step forward on every single flight lesson. You'll be able to just pick up where you left off. So let's dig into that $105,000 to $120,000 program that you saw at the 141 program. Let's dissect that a little bit here. And I think I can provide some insight because I myself am a 141 graduate, private up through commercial, and then I went to Part 61 for my CFI. So I don't think the number is very far off. Can you do it cheaper? Yes. I'm sitting here today as a CFI, all in $70,000 out of pocket. Flight training's not cheap. It is what it is. So, but let's kind of dig into these numbers a little bit more. So within those numbers, I said I'm private, instrument, commercial, CFI. I got 4, okay? You also want instrument, multi-engine, and multi-engine instructor. You want the 3 extras. That's fine. I'll eventually get there myself someday too. I'm actually working towards the instrument instructor now. So what does stuff like that cost? If you were to go to an accelerated CFI school, you're going to talk for CFI and then for CFI. Each program is going to be roughly $4,000 in 15 days. You can do it cheaper at your local Part 61 flight school. If you were prepared, you worked ahead, and they're mostly self-training courses anyway. Work ahead, get in there, show them you know what you're talking about, and then do the flight to show them you can fly the plane proficiently and you're within the standards. You'll get your endorsement and you can move on. So you'll do it less than those 15 days. You'll do it less than the $4,000 for each. But that's where they're getting roughly another $8,000. Okay, so if we're using me, that's now $78,000. Okay, now I'm going to give a shout out here. Yeah, I have my own Part 61 school here in the Orlando, Florida. But I'm going to give a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to another school here in the Orlando area, not because they're paying me to, but just because I think it's a great program, is D&J Aviation in Apopka, Florida at X-Ray 04 Airport. Let's take them for an example for their multi-engine program. They have a 5-day multi-engine program. I think they might do 5-day for private students. I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to ask them. I've only ever seen commercial rated pilots go in and do this program. So they'll do 5 days with you. They'll teach you multi-engine. They'll get you flying, get you the hours that you need so you're proficient, ready to go. And then you'll take your check ride on the 5th day if you're ready. If you're not, you can always extend the program. Last I checked, that program was right around $7,000. It's not cheap. And I don't believe that counts for the check ride either. So that's going to be, we'll call it another $1,000. That's $8,000. So we'll call it $85,000. I'd be all in to get to that point. Then you want your multi-engine instructor. Well, you need certain hours. I don't know what they are, but I know there's a minimum hours to be able to be a multi-engine instructor. So you're going to have to fly those hours. That's going to cost money. I believe they're right around $350 an hour, maybe even $400 an hour now for just a plane. Then you have your instructor, which they charge $80 an hour for advanced instruction. That would be advanced instruction. So you got that on top of it. So you got to get your hours. And then you can go and you can take your multi-engine check ride, which would probably be another $1,000. I mean, it seems to be pretty much the going rate for a check ride these days. So, I don't know, $90,000 I'm all in, roughly, maybe at that point. So your 105 to 120 is not far off, but I do think it's on the high side and you can find a little bit better pricing out there. So my recommendation would be to go look around for other flight schools, another 141. Also, go look at 161. So I have this video titled Part 141, Part 61, because I want to get into also, besides giving that advice, is give some more advice, but then also break down like the two differences. The two major differences that not a lot of people talk about. So obviously, pricing is going to be the big one. But here in Orlando, the pricing is the same for a 141 program or a 61 program when I'm referring to the cost of the airplane and the cost per hour of the flight instructor. So you're talking roughly $175 to $200 an hour for the airplane. And then you're talking anywhere from $70 to $80 an hour for the instructor at a traditional flight school here in the area. If you want cheaper, call me and come to my school. We can beat those prices. But that's a story for another day. So let's get into it. This comes down to a math problem at the end of the day. We're going to talk commercial ratings. Commercial rating, to get that at a Part 61 school, you need to get 250 hours total time in your logbook. As long as you met everything else, you'll be ready to go to check right at 250 hours. Because you need 40 hours for your private. I believe it's 40 hours for instrument plus 50 hours of solo time. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an instrument instructor, so I'm trying to remember. I could be wrong on those numbers there. But then you got to get to 250 to do your commercial check ride. If you're at a 141 school, they're going to be sticking hard to that syllabus because they have to. It's FAA approved. They get audited like once a year or something like that. I think sometimes a little bit more depending on the school. They have to have certain pass rates to maintain their status. So they work hard to get that, and then they work even harder to keep it. So they're very protective of their 141 programs, those that do have it. But you're talking 35 hours for your private. So if the airplane is $200 an hour, you just saved $1,000. Instrument is 35 hours. So you're going to go through and you're going to do that. That is all dual, at least at the 140 program I did. So you got an instructor with you for all 35 hours. You can go do your check ride. That's 70 hours. So that's 10 hours right there, less than you would need if it was 80. Again, don't quote me. We'd have to go and look this up. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not getting too much into the heavy instrument stuff. But again, it all comes down to a math problem. So like the 141 program, it's 35 private, 35 instrument, 120 for a commercial. If you can end your commercial at less than 250 hours total time in a 141 program, do it. Go to the 141 program and finish there. You'll be done faster. You'll have lower hours, less money out of pocket. That's the big one. Less money out of pocket. So you'll be able to do it there. But if you're a high-time pilot and you come out and you got 220 hours and you just got your instrument rating, go to the Part 61 school because you only need 30 hours there. You still have to hit the other items with your long cross country and stuff like that, and you got to learn the maneuvers. But let's say you're really on top of things, you could potentially check ride in 30 hours. Whereas if you're going to do the 141 program, you'd still be required to do their 120-hour syllabus because they have to stick to that syllabus. So, what is my recommendation for you? And I think you're going to be surprised by this as a Part 61 school owner. Again, I teach private and I teach commercial. That's it. I can teach like upset recovery and all this other nonsense we can get into, but we're not getting into that today. So I'm Part 61, and it is private and commercial. So here's where it's going to get good. What is my recommendation to you? My recommendation to you is if all things are the same, we're talking the flight instructor's cost and the airplane's rental cost, or if they're even remotely close, the same ballpark, $500 difference, go to the Part 141 school first. Do your private there. Don't come to me. Yeah, I'm turning away business. Can you believe that? I want what's best for you, and I want you to be able to do this as cheaply as possible and be as safe as possible at the same time. So if you can do this cheap, why not? Go to the Part 141 school first because they only need 35 hours versus 40. So you could potentially save yourself $1,000 to kick the can down the road for your next rating. Now, you want to come to me and do Part 61 private? By all means, I'm not going to turn you away. Come on, let's go fly. Now, my students, when they're done their private, they ask what they should do for their instrument. And here is exactly what I'm telling all of my all of my students that are moving on to instrument. Go over there to that Part 141 school, do the 35 hours dual and do your check ride, get your instrument rating. Why? Because odds are you're going to do it cheaper, and it's going to be a lot easier too, because a lot of the schools that I'm recommending that these students go to for their instrument are flying Cessna 172s with the G1000 suite with autopilot. And if you are already an instrument pilot, you know that flying instrument can be a heavy workload. So if you can take something off of your plate in that workload by utilizing autopilot, why not? Go and do it. Because I'm teaching in the traditional 6-pack. So with the Garmin 430. So there's going to be a heavy workload for instrument for me in the planes that I'm teaching with. You're still going to have a heavy workload in their airplanes, but you get some relief with the autopilot because you just got to manage the autopilot and make it do what you want it to do. But then also significantly less hours. You're going to get your rating a lot sooner than if you were to do it through the Part 61 program. Then when you graduate that, let's see what your total time is. Is it worth coming back to me because it's less hours to do your commercial? Great, come on back. If you're out of instrument with less than 100 hours in your logbook, stay at the 141 and do their 120-hour program and get your commercial at 200 hours flat like I did. You'd be crazy not to. That 50 hours adds up. So save yourself that money if you can and just do that. Again, I'm a Part 61 school owner telling you this. Find someone else out there that's going to be that honest with you and tell you to go somewhere else because you're going to save money. I want what's best for my students, and if that means them saving money, then so be it. I'm okay. But again, you want to come work with me, I'm happier than heck to have you. But that's all I'm going to do on this video here. I'm not going to dig into it too much because there's thousands of videos out there on Part 141 versus Part 61. But I just wanted to make it a point in this video to answer that individual's question, give them some advice, but then also tell you that Part 141 versus Part 61, it's a math problem at the end of the day. So if you're concerned, over the pricing for one, over the pricing for another, do the math.